Randy going to be able to have a style and a game plan to shut Gonzaga down, pin him up against the cage, and elbow the shit out of him? What's going to be the strategy in that fight? That's going to be really fascinating.
This trend of guys winning fights that they weren't supposed to, and that's basically from a perception standpoint, because like you said, we really didn't know about Gonzaga, and that the fight against Crocup put him on the map. He was great in his previous fights, but we just didn't know it. And then we have, I think a bigger upset scenario is the Matt Serra win, where he's an established fighter, beating a kid in George St. Pierre that most people thought was unbeatable at that point. Is this a good thing or a bad thing for the UFC in that, that they build up guys and then they can lose the following night? I mean, there's no guarantee of longevity for stardom.
I think it's a good thing. I mean, there is a guarantee in longevity for stardom if you're exciting and if you come to fight every time. People love you, and if win, lose, or draw, and you can tell that from Randy Couture. I mean, Randy Couture has lost many fights in the UFC, and he's lost by knockout. He's been stopped by Rico, stopped by Josh Barnett, stopped by Chuck. He's still the most popular guy in the entire sport. So I don't think losing is necessarily what defines a fighter. I think what defines a fighter is the way they rebound from those losses and the fact that every time they perform to 100% of their abilities, and they pour their heart out there. And the fans understand that, and the fans connect to that and appreciate that. The reason why everybody loves Randy Couture is because that guy goes out and he fights 100% every time he fights. I mean, that guy goes to war, and he's a fearless competitor. I mean, it's incredible to watch a guy display himself, display his soul to the world like that as he tries to compete. And that's what people love about him. And as long as you do that, as long as you fight your best, people love you. I don't think we need to worry about wins and losses as much as we do.
Yeah, and I was going to follow up on that, because it does seem that, for me, I'm a big, winning means a lot guy, and I do think that, having your hand raised stands for a lot and means a lot as far as your future career.
It does, but okay, let's put it in perspective. Like, what about situations? Because I know Gray Maynard is going to be on your show later, right?
Mm-hmm. He's coming up next. Yeah. That
situation that happened this weekend where Gray fought Robert Emerson, picked him up, and dumped him down on his head. I mean, it was a spectacular performance by Gray. If you look at his performance, what it is, it goes down in the books as a no contest, but really what it is a spectacular performance with an unfortunate accident at the end.
Right, I think that's a rare case, but I'm talking more of a Jake O'Brien sort of scenario where he'll lay on you for 3 rounds. To me, you got to take the win for what it is, and if he can continue doing that, then fine, that's who he is as a fighter. Someone's finally going to come along and beat the guy, but I think you have to respect him for winning.
So I know what you're saying. I don't like watching fighters who just try to win decisions. Like when you hear a corner, just don't take any chances. This is the last round. You're up. Coast here. That's gross. Like I don't want to see someone coasting. I want to see people fighting. I want to see you fighting till the last second of the last minute of the last round. I mean, that's what you're there to do. You're not there to eke out a decision, where there's no damage being done. Like those decisions are ridiculous. And I think first of all, MMA needs to completely revamp its scoring system. I think the 10-point must system is just not effective when it comes to mixed martial arts. I think we need something much more comprehensive, like maybe even like 100-point, scoring system, where you judge all sorts of different things on varying values. Like you judge near submissions, and you judge position, dominant position, and you judge effective striking, not just punches, but how about leg kicks? Leg kicks need to be factored in. We've seen guys not throw one leg kick and land a couple punches, and have the other guy land leg kick after leg kick and then lose that round. I think we need to figure out a better scoring system for MMA, not just adopt boxing scoring system because it's there and we can just pick it up and use it. I think we should come up with our own scoring system. It's not fucking boxing,
Is it the scoring system more important, or is it having people understand what they're watching more important?
Good. That's a good question. I think they're both important. I think having people understand what they're watching is very important. But I think you can do that in an explanation of the rules or an explanation of how people score things, and that the fights are scored on a bunch of different variables. We can have a small graphic that can show what everything is worth. That in what order people look at things. Mm-hmm. It's just so subjective when you look at, who's winning a fight. There's a lot of people that their fighter has gotten his fucking ass kicked, and they're convinced that guy won. He should have got the decision. And you're like, whoa. I can't even argue with you. Like, what do you say about that? It gets a little weird.
For sure. Let's go back to the phones for one quick call before we wrap things up with Joe Rogan. Mike from Montreal.
Hey, guys.
What's up, man?
Not much. Gotta say, this has been the most entertaining Sherdog radio show I've heard in a while. Really love having Joe Rogan on the air. It's great. So I just had two quick questions for you guys. So first one, I've been hearing rumors about UFC coming to Montreal in October. Can you guys fill me in with anything about that?
I can't tell you about anything that's not announced. If it's not announced, I can't tell you about it. And if it's not announced, they usually don't tell me about it anyway, so I just be talking out of my ass.
I believe the Canadian press reported that it was likely going to happen. So
I know they've been talking about doing something in Montreal for a long time, and they were trying to do something before George St. Pierre was injured, before the first fight when he was supposed to fight. Was it Matt Hughes or was it Matt Serra?
I think it was the Hughes fight.
Yeah, no,
was it?
No, I think it was Sarah. Yeah, because
was it Sarah?
Got rescheduled. Yeah.
Yeah. You're right.
So I know they've been working on it for a while, and I know that MMA is huge up in Montreal. That TKO organization.
Yep.
They put on these big packed shows. So, and having George St. Pierre headline a card up there would just be nuts.
No, for sure. Mike, do you have another question for Joe Rogan?
Yeah, that kind of just leads to my second question, actually. GSP versus Koscheck. Who takes it and how?
That's a tough fight, man. That's a real tough fight. Tough fight to call. Everybody wants to say that GSP is like the wrestler killer, that he killed Frank Trigg and beat Matt Hughes, and beat Sherdog. But Josh Koscheck is a very different kind of wrestler. First of all, that guy is a 4-time All-American. That's a serious wrestler. Josh Koscheck is probably the best wrestler in MMA, or one of the best wrestlers in MMA. His takedowns are they're not like anybody else's. If you watch how he shoots a double, he runs through guys, just runs. Like once he gets a hold of your legs, he keeps driving and keeps running until he gets to the opposite side of the octagon. He's a freak. He's a very unusual dude, and he's learning. His stand-up is getting better by the second. I think he looked very solid in his fight against Diego, but Diego, a lot of people don't know this, had a really bad staph infection going into that fight.
Yeah.
And they actually thought that he had Hep C. They thought there was something really wrong with him before the fight because of, whatever the doctors found in his blood test. But what it turned out to be was a horrible case of staph infection. So he fought in a very weakened condition, which explains why he wasn't his normal tenacious self. Josh Koscheck certainly shut him down, but Diego Sanchez is a pit bull. That dude comes to fight every time. I've never seen a boring Diego Sanchez fight, and if it is boring, it's boring because his opponent is trying to keep the fuck away from Diego. Diego's a little animal, and then that fight, it was a real interesting fight. Koscheck had a real interesting strategy. It looked like his strategy was to box and keep him away, and then the last 30 seconds take him down and punch him. But the first round when he took him down, within 15 seconds, Diego had swept him and got his back. Quick, bang, bang. So I think Koscheck just decided, okay, you know what? Let's just fuck this guy. Let's just keep this guy on his feet and just punch him in the face. And that's what he did, and he was able to do that, very, very effectively for 3 rounds. So, is he going to be able to do that with George St. Pierre? I don't know, man. Is he going to be able to take George St. Pierre down? George St. Pierre stuffed Matt Hughes' takedowns. We'll be able to stuff Koscheck's. We're gonna find out a lot. It's going to be a real interesting fight.
Absolutely. Joe Rogan, thanks for joining us, man. Before we let you go, do you have any comedy gigs or anything else you want to promote before we get you off the line?
Nothing to promote, man. If people want to hear my shit, go buy my CD. It's called Shiny Happy Jihad. It's available everywhere. You can get it on iTunes, or you can get it all over the place in record stores. And I have a DVD that's out, too. It's called Joe Rogan Live, and same thing. You can buy that in stores and get it online and stuff.
Awesome, Joe. We appreciate you coming on, and anytime you want to come on and talk with anyone on the Sherdog Radio staff, you're more than welcome to.
Well, thanks, guys. It was cool talking to you.
All right, thanks a lot, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Bye.
Joe Rogan there in the Beatdown Gross. Our longest opening segment in the history of this radio show.
No banter, no commercials. I love it.
Oh, we got to take a break now. Graham Mader will be joining us on the other side of the break. Sherdog Radio Network.
You're listening to the Sherdog Radio Network.